So it seems like with this week's chapter of My Hero Academia, we are finally getting the ending of the Todoroki family arc. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, I did very much enjoy this arc, and I think it ended very nicely. The chapter was very short, very concise, and it got the point across, which is all that really matters. I really did enjoy this chapter, but let's get into the review. The chapter starts off with everybody in their dormitories in the Student Alliance, and we see Deku talking to Todoroki, and he's basically saying that you guys don't need to worry about my decision, and that his father will be annoyed that he's not going to be able to keep his promise since in this fight, Endeavor isn't going to really be able to interfere. We see that, and he's basically leaving everything up to Todoroki right now, which I still think is very good that Endeavor was able to trust him enough to fix his problems, and it's not really seen as like just going around fixing all of Endeavor's problems. Todoroki definitely wanted to do this himself, and this is just further showing how the Todoroki family has progressed and that they're in such a better state compared to where they were at the beginning of the series. Todoroki talks about the fact that if he ever wants to be a hero, he's going to have to be able to handle the situation and not run away from it. And then we see that he's using his new move with his teammates, and we see that it's sort of like a flash fire fist. Even Deku says this, but there's something different about it, and that difference is the fact that he's basically formed a perfect equilibrium with his fire power and his ice power. The secret to his ability right now is that he's using both his left side and his right side at the same exact time to form heat and also form ice, and he's using his heart as a sort of control center. He's using that to basically control both of these sides at the same time. And this perfect equilibrium has given birth to a completely different type of power that he wasn't able to access before. Todoroki remarks that he's basically doing the opposite of what Endeavor wanted to do, where Endeavor wanted to use the ice side as a way to cool off the fire side, and he's using it completely different in the fact that he's using both sides at the same exact time to birth a completely different power, which I think is very cool. It's kind of showing that he rejects what he was basically meant for at the beginning, and he's using what he was given to give birth to different powers and really find himself in a different way other than how he was basically expected to at the beginning of the story, where he was going to be used as just this weapon that would surpass All Might. The next panels that we get of him are very important also, and it's basically him just saying thank you to Midoriya, but it's very important that he says thank you to him, since it was Midoriya that even put him on the road to trying to become a different person. During his fight with Midoriya all the way at the beginning of the series, it was Midoriya that told him that this is your power, this isn't your father's, this is yours, and you can basically do whatever you want with it. And that really hit him hard, and all throughout the story we see that he's taken all of that to heart, and this is the culmination of all of that, the culmination of him believing in himself, believing in what Midoriya said, and it's all led up to this point right now. Todoroki uses a move against Dabi called Freezing Impact Burning Ice Blade, and this doesn't really do too much to Dabi at the moment. Dabi's able to basically flinch it off, and he's able to use his own fire to back up from Todoroki. He then remarks that he was able to withstand my flash fire, and he's able to quench my flames with his own ice, basically using both of the two sides at the same time. Like we said, he's able to have a perfect defense, and he's able to be super offensive with getting rid of Dabi's fire. Dabi, of course, basically shrugs off this attack, and he goes on the offensive after this, and he's basically saying that even if we're bound by blood, I guess we really are nothing alike. We're completely different, and he's saying that these are the effects of superhuman society. You know, once you fall lower, there kind of is no turning back, he's saying, and we see a almost feral Dabi using just straight up fire, like he's not even using a move, he's not using any techniques, it's just him shooting off as much fire as he can, as hot as he can, to try and burn Todoroki. And he even says it, burn to death for our sake. He's holding nothing back right now. He's not even really trying to do anything spectacular. He just wants to get rid of Todoroki right now in this moment. In this panel, we also see that the people that Todoroki brought along with them are barely even withholding themselves. They're barely standing up, and some of them are about ready to collapse, even trying to withstand the amount of heat going on in this fight right now. We're now in the ending portions of the chapter, and all Todoroki has to say about the entire situation is thank you. and he's basically saying thank you to all of the class members of 1A that no matter what happened in his past, no matter what he did, they always accepted him and they always gave him somewhere to return to. And he states that at some point he thought that maybe he wasn't really allowed to have somewhere to run back to, allowed to have people to look after him, and allowed to have friends, but they always gave him something to go back to and something to hold on to. And he's just super thankful for the fact that they did that to him. After putting all his feelings forward, we see him charging up what is going to be his final ability, and he's telling himself to build it up. And we get a flashback of Mountain Lady telling him that Hero's super move is basically the embodiment of themselves, and it is the easiest way to basically tell people who you are and what you stand for. And we see him about to use this move, and he's saying that there is turning back even if it's by force, so please just stop all of this. And he tells Dabi that, and he uses his final move of the chapter and seemingly the final move of the fight. I don't think anything is going to happen after this, and I think that Dabi is definitely down for the count right now. But it's called a Great Arctic Tsunami, and we see a cool little nod to where we see like a young Dabi and Todoroki, and it's basically kind of him trying to save the younger Dabi before any of this happened. And the chapter ends with him holding Dabi on his shoulder and everything around them frozen. Luckily there's no break next week, so hopefully we kind of get to see the full ending of the Todoroki arc of the story, and we get to finally have Toya, Dabi talking to Todoroki, and they're not going to be malicious, they're not going to be fighting, it'll just be them able to sit down and let all of their thoughts out and talk about their feelings and how they felt growing up and how they feel they could move going forwards. I feel like if Dabi did survive this final move, which I think he did, there's definitely no way that he's going to be reintroduced to society. They would not be able to do that, and the general public would not want him to basically get off easy just because he is the family member of the Endeavor family or the Todoroki family. They're not going to want that. So I think Dabi, if he gets out of all of this, is definitely going to be going to jail forever. Basically, he's never getting out if that's the kind of the route they go, unless they give him like the death penalty or something, which I don't know how it works in the world of My Hero, but they probably could. But I think it's just more likely that he's probably just going to be going to prison forever, indefinitely, and never getting out. But I think he's just going to accept this punishment since he lost, and I think he's finally going to come to his senses and realize that maybe somewhere along the way he was in the wrong and that he should have went down a different path and things would have been completely different. Overall, I think this was a great chapter and a great conclusion to the Todoroki arc, and I think Horikoshi did an amazing job with this arc. And no matter how anybody feels about Endeavor or how he should have been redeemed, since there are people that think that, I think this was a great side arc of the story. And going forward, I think we're going to get some very good moments with Endeavor and Todoroki and basically everybody else in that family, and I really enjoyed this conclusion. But tell me how else you guys thought about the chapter. I thought it was great, and I think this is a great conclusion to the Todoroki family side arc. But let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments, and like the video if you liked it, and subscribe since it really does help me out. And I'm out. Peace.